Hello, this is Mike, and we're looking at Python Programming Lesson 2. And in Lesson 1, we actually installed PyDev and got it running in Eclipse, and we did a simple Hello World. But we also saw there were three flavors of Python. There was Python, which is written in C, Jthon, which is written in Java, and IronPython, which is written in C#. Now in Lesson 2, we're actually going to start looking at variables, and specifically at strings. We're going to show you how to make string variables using quotes, how to concatenate them using the plus sign, how to multiply them out, how to use the raw input command. We're going to talk about the length command and how to turn things into a string or into an integer. And we're going to use the percent sign to actually substitute for variables. And finally, we're going to show you how to use the backslash to actually escape characters and explain what that means. So let's move over to Eclipse and get started. So just like in PHP, defining variables is extremely simple. And all we do is just write a name. And we don't even have to put a $sign or anything in front of it or strict type it. There's your variable. And it knows it's a string because you actually use quotes. And that's one thing about PHP. It's so easy. Also note, as far as PHP is concerned, there's no like semicolon or anything ending this line. It just knows it's over. So it's a very smart language in that sense. So we're going to define three strings. There's going to be top of the, then morning, and then to you. And one way to print out words is just use a print statement and just put a comma there, you see, and then it'll separate them for you automatically. So it's going to run this first command and see what we get. And we see in our console we get top of the morning. All right, let's do a little bit more work on that. I actually want to make that look a little bit better. So I'm going to comment out some code here. We're going to actually create a sentence. So we got a variable that's just going to define sentence, and we're going to use word 1, which is top of the, plus a space there, plus a word 2, plus a word 3. So what we're using is the plus sign to concatenate phrases together. And you've seen that before in languages like PHP or in ActionScript. Let's go and run this code and see what we get. Also make sure that you print it. So we want to go ahead and print that statement out so we don't lose that. So we're going to actually create the sentence word 1 plus word 2 plus word 3, which should be top of the morning to you, and then print that out as well. So let's go ahead and save that and run it. And in our console, we do indeed see top of the morning to you. So we use the plus sign to concatenate strings together. Very easy. So let's go down a little bit, and I'm going to show you a little string trick. It's kind of fun to do. And what I'm going to do is take another word or string, we'll call that hello, put a little comma there, and actually put a little space there so my words will be separated. And then I'm just going to put word 4 multiplied by 10. And what that's going to do, it just send out hello 10 times. So let's go ahead and run it, see if that works. Look at your console. Indeed, that's an easy way to put out a bunch of words. So you can see that multiplication, in a sense, multiplied the string out 10 times. Let's go back. Python gives a very easy way to give input from the user, and it uses a term called raw input. It's actually an internal function to Python. That's what that means. And we're going to be learning all about functions in the future. But what a function is kind of a little piece of code that's going to run for you. And so what we're going to have is create a string that says, what is your favorite color? Then you're going to print the question, and you're going to run raw input. And what raw input does is just wait for input from the screen. And when you type in some input and you hit a return, then it's actually going to do, in this particular case, it's going to print out your favorite color is, plus the answer. So you can concatenate the string to that particular string. And then I'm going to say mine too. Okay? So it's going to run this code and see how it works. And so all the previous stuff is printed out, but now you're basically your console is just waiting. It wants you to type something in. So we're going to type in, what is your favorite color? Let's type in red, for example, and hit return. And when you do it, substitute the word red right into your string. And I said mine too. Very, very good. That's going to make some correction. I guess I need a double O there. And I got an extra space here, so let's come in on that. Let's run it one more time. What is your favorite color? Let's say blue this time. And it says your favorite color is blue. Mine too. Well, there you have it. Very nicely done. All right, let's go down a little bit more and learn a little bit more about this. Now, notice I just took the answer from the raw input, which I gave the handler, in a sense. Answer acted as a handler, or it actually just grabbed the input from the screen, and you inserted that in just through concatenation. And it knew it was a string. Now, you could have used input instead, but input tries to convert whatever you put in the console as Python code. Where raw input, what that does, that actually just takes it in as a string. So we'll use raw input for a while as we continue with these lessons. So I have a whole tutorial here. You can go through the notes or go through the code, and you'll see I talk about the difference between these two methods, input and raw input. And we'll be using raw input because that takes things in from the console as a string. Now there's a neat command here. It's called the length command. And what the length command allows you to do is just give you the length of whatever the string is. Now in this particular case we have hello world, so it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, count the space as well, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, should get 13 characters. Let's run this code and see if we get a return of 13. And it's pausing because it wants us to go ahead and type something in. Red is my favorite color. And you do see, indeed, you got the return of 13. So length just gives you the number of characters, including spaces, that you actually have in a word. So what I want to do now is actually want to concatenate this into a string. In order to do that, I actually need to convert this, which is now a number, into a string using the str command. So what I'm going to do is print out 13, that's what I'll have output it, turn that into a string and concatenate with that with equals the number of characters in hello world. Okay, so let's go ahead and run the program. We say my favorite color is yellow. And it says at the bottom here, you can actually see in the console window, let me bring it up here so you can see it. So in the console window you see 13 equals the number of characters in hello world. Very good. Let's move on with the lesson. Now I'm going to do a little bit more with raw input. So the first thing I'm going to do is please give me a number. And then I'm going to say that number, that's going to be the input from the screen, whatever that raw input is. Now that's going to come in from the screen as a string because that's what raw input does. So I need to convert that number to a number if I'm going to add it to a number. There's a few interesting things I want to point out about Python right here. First of all, unlike PHP, it's not trying to figure out if that's a number or a string. It knows you declared it as a string or it knows you declared it as a number and you need to convert. So you'll be doing some strict type converting is actually what we're doing here. So when you enclose int, the number which comes from the console, which is a string, you convert it to an integer. And then you're going to add that integer to 10. And this knows, hey, let plus 10 be an integer. So indeed, Python does figure out what type of number you're working with when you first initialize a variable, but then from then on you actually have to convert from one to the other using the STIR for strings or INT for integers in math calculations. And we'll get into math in the next section, don't worry about it right now. So I'm going to go ahead and print this out. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this number now and convert it back to a string because I want to concatenate it with a string. So you're not going to be able to concatenate a number with a string. And so if we add 10 to your number, we get string plus 10, or whatever that is. That's going to run that and see if that's indeed what we get. And remember, back again, red is my favorite color, for example. And please give me a number. So we're going to type in a number. Let's make it 10. And so if we add 10 to your number, we get 20. So 10 plus 20 is 20. Now there's a few other ways you could actually done this. You could have actually came along here and go, all right, if print add 10 to your number, and we could actually concatenate it just by using a comma and not worried about changing it to an integer. Or another way we could have done this is a real special trick you'll see over and over again in Python, is we could have used the percentage sign to actually substitute 10 in to that particular spot. So whenever you do percentage variable, and it doesn't matter what you put in there, I could put SWYK, whatever name you want in there, but then following that, I'm going to have a percentage sign, and the actual variable I'm going to substitute in that. So let's run this code real quick. We're almost done with this lesson. I've got one more thing to cover. We'll go red again. We'll put a number of 5. And if we add 10 to your number, we get 15. That's fine. And once again, you can see this is also put as if we add 10 to your number, we get 15. So everything's working correctly there. And I got one more thing to look at, and what I want to talk about is the use of backslashes. Many times in Python or in any language, actually, you have the use. You need backslashes to escape special characters. So in Python, the actual quote is a special character. So if I try to use a quote in a string, for example, so I said, "You don't know me, you'll never understand me." So I want to use a quote right here. In order to do that quote, I have to escape it. And that means it's a special character that tells this Python that this special character should not be used. So the backslash actually will, in a sense, escape that character and allow it to be used. So what it's going to do is actually going to say to you, hey, that's not going to be used as a special character as far as a quote or used in programming. It's going to actually be a quote in a sentence. So backslash it or escape it so I can actually use it as a non-quote. So I'm actually going to run this. It's the last thing we need to do for this lesson today. Once again, going through all the different machinations of code we've already written. And you see right here, you do indeed get your quote back, but the only way you get that quote back is that you escaped it. Otherwise, Python's going to interpret that as a programming or a special character it needs to do something with. And you can see in Python, when you use quotes, many times you're using that to sometimes as comments, and other times as code to print to the screen. So let's quickly review what we learned today. We actually learned about the print command a little bit more. We learned about input versus raw input. We learned about the length command, which gives you the number of characters in a string. We learned how to convert something to a string using the str command and to an integer using the int command. We learned about concatenation using the plus sign, the percentage sign for substitution, and the backslash to escape characters. And we'll continue in the next lesson looking at math variables and functions. So thanks for listening. This was Mike Lively, and I'll see you next time.